Rain slammed into the canopy hard enough to drown out everything but the radio. A broken voice cut through the static, low and tight with panic. Havoc Actual whispered that the team was combat ineffective, pinned against the river. Burning through ammunition with no clean exit. Men were packed shoulder to shoulder along the mud bank, soaked through, hands shaking as they reloaded blind. Rounds snapped overhead and tore into the trees behind them. Boots slid in the muck as someone lost their footing and barely caught himself. The jungle felt closer now, like it was breathing alongside the enemy. Someone spoke quietly, not into the radio. The sniper attachment was gone. There was a pause. Then another voice, almost apologetic, said she didn't make it. No one argued. No one prayed out loud. This wasn't hero time. This was what came after hope ran dry. Enemy movement crept closer through the brush. Shapes shifted. Metal clinked beneath the river's black surface. Something moved without disturbing the water. The enemy believed the river was empty. The team believed they were alone. A seal whispered what no one wanted to say. "We're done. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Military and Veteran Stories so you never miss these true accounts of courage. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from today, 18 hours earlier." The mission had started in a room that smelled like wet nylon and stale coffee. A red light washed over the briefing table. A river map lay beneath clear plastic, pinned down by empty magazines and a busted pen. SEAL Team 4 call sign. Havoc stood around it with the relaxed confidence of men who had done this kind of work too many times. They were tired but sure of themselves. Sleeves rolled down, shirts loose, faces half-lit. Someone joked about the heat, about how the jungle would do the enemy's work for them. Then she walked in. Staff Sergeant Alina wore early 30s. Lean, compact. A rifle case in one hand, a small dry bag in the other. No dramatic entrance. No scanning the room for attention. She simply took her place at the edge and listened. Her call sign was Ash. Not because it sounded cool, because it was accurate. Ash was what remained after the fire passed. What settled when everything else was done? A name that didn't ask for a story. She was attached to Havoc as a precision shooter and water-capable scout. The kind of soldier who moved through a river like it was a road. The kind who could hold her breath longer than most men could hold a thought. But to them, she was still an attachment. A few of the operators glanced at her gear, then her size, then back to the map, as if she weren't part of it. It wasn't hostile, just the usual quiet wall that said, "You're here. But you're not one of us, one of the SEALs." A big man with a soft southern drawl nodded toward her dry bag and smiled. "Hope you brought snacks." A few laughs followed. Easy laughs. The kind that made someone feel like a visitor. Alina didn't respond. She didn't force a smile. She set her bag down, checked the seal, and kept her eyes on the map. Lieutenant Ryan Mercer ran the brief, mid-30s. Clean haircut. Confident voice. He spoke like a man who trusted the paperwork more than the jungle. He pointed to a bend in the river, then a trail cutting inland. "Intel says light resistance," he said. "Village asleep. We move fast, hit the target, grab what we came for, and we're gone before sunrise." He spoke like it was already finished. Alina watched his hand, not his face. The way it tapped the plastic, the way it lingered over the route, as if the map were ground truth. She waited for a pause. "Sir," she said calmly. "What's the last confirmed movement in the area?" "Actual eyes on. Not reports." Mercer glanced at her, weighing whether to answer or remind her of her place. "Overhead saw nothing," he said. "No fires. No movement. Quiet." She nodded once. "Any fuel storage along the river?" she asked. "Anything that could carry downstream?" A couple of men exchanged looks. "Fuel? Downstream?" Mercer exhaled. "Staff Sergeant, we're not here to do environmental science." Soft chuckles circled the table. Dismissive, not cruel. Alina didn't react. She pulled a small waterproof notebook from her pocket, pages smeared with pencil marks and tight handwriting. She didn't show it. She didn't need to. Roger that. She said and went quiet. While the others discussed timing and breach points, Alina watched the room. Not suspiciously professionally, who stood close to whom? Who cleaned their weapon out of habit, and who did it for show? Who joked because they were command? Who joked because they weren't? Outside, the night air was heavy and wet. The river lay nearby, dark and slow. The jungle pressed in around it like a clenched fist. Alina stopped at the water's edge and stared not at the surface, but where the surface met the bank, where fuel, mud, and rot collected. She dipped 2 fingers in. A faint slick clung to her skin, not enough to smell. Enough to feel. She wiped her fingers on her pants and looked into the trees. No birds in a jungle. Silence meant something. A frog chirped once, then stopped. Behind her, the zodiacs were loaded. Rubber creaked. Metal clinked. Someone coughed loud. Too loud for a place that was supposed to be asleep, Alina checked her gear. Once, then again. Not from doubt, because mistakes don't care how skilled you are. They only care how tired you are. Mercer stepped up beside her. "You good?" he asked, already expecting an issue. "I'm good, sir," she said. "But this place doesn't feel empty." He followed her gaze, shrugged. "It's a jungle. It always feels like something." She didn't argue. She stored the feeling away. As the Zodiac slid into the river, the team settled in. Boots braced. Weapons tucked. Eyes forward. Alina sat near the rear, shoulders loose, breathing slow. She watched reflections slide across the water, looking for breaks in the pattern. Reflections told the truth. Faces didn't always. She counted bends without looking. 1, 2, 3. By. Ow. The time the river narrowed and the Zodiac drifted into shadow. She knew one thing: if the jungle was asleep, it wouldn't be this quiet. And if Havoc kept moving like nothing could touch them, they were about to learn the difference between confidence and carelessness. Asterisk. The signal was correct. Textbook. Not something learned from a grainy video or secondhand instruction. Another man mirrored it instantly. That kind of fluency came only from repetition, from leadership that enforced standards. A chill ran through her, nothing to do with the water. She shifted again, keeping the river between herself and the enemy whenever possible. Her movement stayed smooth, economical, detached. To anyone watching, she would have blended into the environment, just another shadow, another ripple. The audience still didn't know her story. They didn't know where she had learned to move like this, or why the river felt more familiar than dry ground. They only saw the result. A soldier who didn't rush, didn't hesitate, didn't waste effort. As she tracked the enemy line, another truth settled in. Their attention kept pulling toward one man. Orders flowed from him. Movement adjusted around his position. When he shifted, the entire formation followed. She didn't need his name. He was command. Command was standing too close to the river. She edged nearer. Breath steady, despite the burn in her chest. Her body ached now, the deep ache that came from pushing past limits and refusing to acknowledge it. She noted it, then set it aside. Something else pressed heavy in her gut. This ambush felt personally emotional, not angry personal in the way only preparation could be. Roots cleared. Timing exacts. Havoc's movement anticipated, not reacted to. Someone had known where they'd be. This wasn't just a bad night, and if she didn't act soon, there would be no one left to warn. The pressure on Havoc didn't as it narrowed. Rounds snapped closer now, deliberate, controlled. Each burst forced the team back step by step toward the river they'd tried to leave behind. Mud dragged at boots. Branches tore sleeves. Every man felt it, even if no one said it out loud. They were being pushed. Mercer shouted orders. But his voice no longer carried authority, only urgency. He called for movement, for spacing that no longer existed. Responses came clipped and sparse. Breath conserved like ammunition. Flick, click. Those sounds landed heavier than gunfire. A rifle ran dry. The man holding it froze for half a heartbeat before slamming in a new magazine. Another counted shots under his breath. Smoke drifted, then hung, thick and bitter. Morale didn't break, tinned, like fabric worn too long. Someone muttered they were almost empty. Someone else answered that they already were. Asterisk, no one laughed. Then the enemy fire slowed. Not cleanly, just enough to be noticed. The silence hit harder than the noise. Mercer raised a hand, signaling a halt that barely mattered now. The team crouched low, weapons up, waiting for the next wave. It didn't come. Beneath the river's surface, Alina felt the shift before she heard it. Water carried sound differently. She sensed movement replacing firing positions. Boots in mud. Voices closer together. They were done spending bullets. They were about to rush. She hovered just below the surface, waterline brushing her jaw. Through her optic, she watched the enemy line tighten. Confidence crept into their posture. Weapons slung lower. Spacing collapsed. They believed it was over. Alina looked down and made the decision without hesitation. Her armor was protection, but it was also weight. Weight made noise. Weight slowed her. Weight fought the river when she needed to become it. She unclipped it and let it sink. The plate carrier slid from her shoulders and vanished into the black, bubbles marking its path for only a second. Cold pressed against her chest. She felt exposed, lighter, and seen. She checked her rifle by feel and settled into stillness. Above her, the enemy gathered where the riverbank widened, drawn by the promise of finishing the Americans all at once. Patience gone. Angles abandoned. This was the mistake she needed. She waited until leadership stepped forward, till the man giving hand signals moved into the open, until the heavy weapon crew relaxed just enough to shift their stance. Then she rose not with a splash, but with control. Water streamed from her shoulders, rifle already aligned. She fired before anyone could shout. The first round took command. The second dropped the man reaching for a radio. The third caught the heavy gunner mid-turn. This wasn't panic fire. It was geometry, solved one piece at a time. The suppressor erased direction. Shots came from everywhere and nowhere. The enemy, staggered, confused, trying to understand how death was coming from what they believed was empty water. Alina moved as she fired. 2 steps. Stop. Fire. Shift. Fire again, each round chosen. No waste. She didn't chase bodies. She dismantled capability. An RPG gunner fell before he could shoulder the tube. A rifleman tried to run and collapsed a step later. Those who turned toward the river found only darkness and ripples. From cover, Havoc watched. At first, none of them moved. They stayed pressed into the mud, eyes wide, trying to process what they were seeing. The woman they'd written off was standing waist-deep in the river, erasing the force that had just broken them. No one cheered. No one shouted. It didn't feel like victory yet. It felt unreal. Enemy fire spiked briefly, wild, directionless, then collapsed entirely. Men ran. Some vanished into brush. Others froze, unsure where to flee. Alina finished it quickly. When the last threat fell or fled, she moved immediately, reloading without looking, scanning sectors that mattered. Only then did the riverbank go quiet. Havoc began to breathe again. Mercer rose first, weapon still up, eyes locked on her. He looked at Alina like he was seeing her for the first time, not as an attachment, not as a problem, but as the reason his team was alive. She didn't wait for him to speak. Security, she said, voice level and firm. Davis, Ridge, Tex, rear. Nobody stares at bodies. They moved without question. Something had shifted. No announcement, no acknowledgement. But it was real. For the first time that night, her orders were obeyed instantly.